Welcome to Kevin and Brian's Horror Bulletin podcast, recorded live from the Vampire's Crypt, where each week we cover the latest horror news, shorts, a classic Universal horror film, and 2 creature feature reviews.
This week after the news, we'll cover the Universal Studios movie The Old Dark House from 1932, which I had never even heard of before we started doing
It's old,
this.
it's dark, and there's a house.
Spoilers. The contemporary classic Contracted, and the newer movie Contracted 2. What is it?
Contracted 2, I got it
Phase
too.
2.
Oh,
Phase
okay.
2, there was a word there. Contracted Phase 2. And the short film The Bells, which is available on YouTube. So turn up the volume and lean in close. Here we go.
First, the news.
The news.
You want to see a silent version of Frankenstein from 1910?
It's cool.
1910.
I checked it out.
How about Grave of the Vampire from 1974?
That was kind of awful.
Don't remember that one. How about some old Flash Gordon serial episodes if you're not in the mood for horror? Those are sort of cool.
Yeah.
Archive.org has hundreds of obscure, old, weird, and interesting horror and science fiction shorts and full-length movies available to view, available free of charge in the public domain. It's mostly old, but there's some newer things in there too.
Mm-hmm.
You may not necessarily find anything award-winning, but you're sure to find something entertaining. And we'll have the link in our show notes.
Science fiction and horror had 400 and some in that category, but they got a whole bunch of other categories too.
Yeah, it's not just horror.
It's
They
fun
got
to check
everything.
out. Yeah, just go in there and browse around, and you'll find something weird.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Next up, our favorite Evil Dead fighting hero is still going strong by hosting a reboot of Ripley's Believe It or Not.
He's got a big chin. He leads with his chin.
Yeah, it's what he does.
Bruce Campbell.
100 years ago, in October 1919, Robert Ripley started his Stories of the Fantastic from real-world strangeness. Now 10 all-new one-hour episodes will showcase more amazing and real stories. And at no point does this story tell us who this host is.
Bruce Campbell.
Bruce Campbell.
Bruce Campbell.
Evil Dead. Ash.
Dead.
Yeah.
Yeah, everybody knows that. all
Clickbait.
All horror fans know that.
Click here to find out who that was.
So I think that'll be kind of cool. I always liked Ripley's Believe It or Not. The Jack Palance ones were a lot of fun, I thought.
Jack Palance was way back in the 60s or 70s, and then Dean Cain did one in the 90s.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I forgot about his. Yeah.
I'll bet there's 1 or 2 remakes that we don't even know about.
Yeah.
That's one of those things that just always seems to be going.
Yeah, it's always around.
What's next?
A gunslinger from the Old West comes back from the grave to stop a gang of werewolves in the present day. How's that for a movie plot?
Werewolves versus cowboys.
If you're in the mood for that, you're in luck. It's High Moon. The Western horror movie is coming. Written and directed by Josh Ridgway, the movie follows a mysterious gunslinger named Colt, who is played by Chad Michael Collins, with a mission to kill every living werewolf, or howler, after a gang of like-hands killed his wife. So it's a
I'll bet there's a
Western.
howler. I'll bet the whole thing's a howler.
It's a Western revenge movie.
Yeah, check out the trailer on the show notes, and it looks like very tongue-in-cheeky.
It's
Not
hard to
quite
tell
a comedy.
how serious they're taking it, because the trailer looks awful serious, but I don't see how it could be. Yeah. It's going to be on video on demand and digital May 14th. It won't be a theatrical. It's used to say straight to video, and now it's straight to
It's gotten so much
digital.
more complicated.
Yeah.
Straight to DVD, straight to VHS,
Straight to
somewhere, some
streaming,
service.
Streaming, yeah. Amazon and iTunes will have it.
Speaking of some service, the DC Comics monstrous hero Swamp Thing is coming to the DC Universe channel on May 31st. And it looks a whole lot like this is going to be a horror version of this.
Mm-hmm, the trailer looks that way.
EW reports that the show is produced by James Wan, and the promo has the same vibe as many of his horror movies. Lots of quick cuts and frantic screaming as people try to make sense of the supernatural.
And creepy creatures and people in masks. Look like maybe a masked serial killer of some kind, maybe.
The guy with the pig face?
Yeah.
I thought maybe that was one of the mutants.
No,
Did you see the 2 old, '80s versions where the scientist was trying to turn people into monsters, like their version of Swamp Thing.
Maybe, yeah.
I don't know what the story is. I'm not that familiar with Swamp Thing. All I know is the two old movies.
They could have a completely original take on it too.
Yeah, I like those two old movies. Even the second one that wasn't all that great.
So what's better than Bruce Campbell narrating Ripley's Believe It or Not?
Robert Englund hosting a show called Shadows of History, also going to be on the Travel Channel. The Travel Channel?
The Travel Channel.
Not the Discovery Network or
The Travel Channel.
Okay, so all right. How can you make fascinating and petrifying stories even more scary, they asked. Let's add Robert Englund. Said Jane Latman, general manager of the Travel Channel. As if tales of flying monsters, zombie cannibals, and ghost ships were not enough, we're cranking up the volume for maximum impact. And our fans are going to go nuts for the legendary actor.
They always do.
Is real life scarier than horror? Watch with us when the 6-episode series makes its premiere sometime later this year.
So I guess they're taking real historical news stories that were very strange and bringing them
anytime
back.
You go to a different state or some big wonder or national park, there's always these books in the gift shop. Ghost stories of Ohio, ghost stories of Indiana, ghost stories of the lighthouse. It's like travel and tourism and ghosts always go together.
Oh, yeah.
Wherever you're spending the night somewhere strange, it's good to have ghost stories.
So they're making some of these into a TV show.
Yeah, sounds neat.
Yeah, it does.
And that's the news. So, we need to watch an old movie this week. What did we watch?
We watched The Old Dark House.
And like I said...
Not the Dark Old House, The Old Dark House.
It's
from
really
1932.
confusing. Yeah.
And again, we've got Boris Karloff. And,
sorta.
Well, they actually do a disclaimer at the beginning saying the Mad Butler is played by Boris Karloff, and you may not believe it, but he really is, and this is a testimonial to his versatility.
Yeah, he played him. He didn't speak in the movie. He didn't act. He didn't speak. He just... Well, actually, it's better lines than the Frankenstein monster. But he still didn't speak. At least in The Mummy, he spoke.
The makeup
I get
was
the impression
different.
this came after The Mummy. He
the
was
makeup was
still not
way
quite
different.
super known.
So, he did look very different. But
he looked like a drunken caveman. And that literally is what the character was, I think.
Yeah, a drunken caveman.
Directed by James Whale, the same guy who did Frankenstein. So the two of them worked together on that. Written by J.B. Priestley. It's a book called The Old Dark House, very similar. Stars Boris Karloff, Melvin Douglas, Charles Laughton, and Lillian Bond. Names there I've actually heard of in other movies. 1 hour, 12 minutes.
It was a dark and stormy night.
Suddenly,
there was
no
shots. No shots. No guns. No.
It is a really stormy night. They've got a great scene of these three travelers in this car driving up the mountain in the rain. And this is back when it's not a Model T, but it's one of those old classic cars that has no windows
windows on the side. Just pouring rain. They're getting soaked inside it. There's 3 passengers, three people in the car.
Okay, 3 travelers are lost in a rainstorm in an area with heavy landslides.
It was good special effects.
Pretty good for being
1932.
Landslide
realistic.
comes down and covers the road. It looked pretty realistic. All black and white, of course.
Yeah.
They have to start somewhere. So they stop at this old, dark house. And
but there's lights in the window. So there's somebody's
not that
home.
dark.
Yeah.
Okay, so they're greeted by Mr. Femme, a tall, gaunt man, and his creepy deaf sister, Rebecca. Did I tell you she's deaf?
Yeah, she's deaf.
What?
That's a running joke through the whole thing.
It gets kind of old, too.
A little bit, yeah.
So they agree to let them spend the night, but they're not happy about it.
You can't have a bed, she keeps saying. So they agree they can just sit in the chairs by the fireplace. That's okay.
Well, no, she says the girl can have a bed.
Well, yeah. She liked her the best.
So the old man freaks out that they're trapped in the house by the floods. There's something in the house he doesn't want to be trapped with. The old lady calls him a wimp and picks on him, and it's kind of comical there.
He is kind of a nervous guy.
Turns out very quickly he admits it. Mr. Femme is terrified of Morgan the butler and doesn't want to be trapped in the house with him. And he is kind of
And
He's
why-
a mute, caveman-looking guy with the long hair and jaw
scarred
to
up
the
face,
side. He's a
scarred up
mess.
and, yeah.
But anyway, the old lady, Rebecca, should have won an Academy Award for creepiness. My young wicked sister died on this bed, she tells the heroine. You can have this bed. My sister died on it after a long disease.
Yeah, and she rants about the parents and the family, and the house was full of laughter and sin with all the dancing and music that was going on.
I smell a clip.
Thanks very much. I can manage quite well now. My sister Rachel had this room once. She died when she was 21. She was a wicked one, handsome and wild as a hawk. All the young men used to follow her about, with her red lips and her big eyes and her white neck. But that didn't save her. She fell off her horse, hunting, hurt her spine. On this bed she lay, month after month. Many a time I've sat here listening to her screaming. Oh, dreadful. She used to cry out to me to kill her, but I'd tell her to turn to the Lord. But she didn't. She was godless to the last.
Well, I'd better change my wet things.
They were all godless here. They used to bring their women here, brazen, lolling creatures in silks and satins. They filled the house with laughter and sin, laughter and sin. And if I ever went down among them, my own father and brothers, they would tell me to go away and pray. They wouldn't tell Rachel to go away and pray. And I prayed and left them with their lustful red and white.
Okay, so then after that, there's a very awkward dinner scene, followed by a knocking at the door.
More people.
2 more visitors come in for aid, a fat businessman and a chorus girl, both of whom appear to be quite drunk. The old lady does not approve of these two.
She doesn't approve, but she lets him in anyway, because it's a dark and stormy night.
And they all talk and get along and have dinner, and before too long, Mr. Penderell and Gladys, the chorus girl, get locked outside, sort of accidentally on purpose, while hunting for some whiskey. They very quickly fall in love and plan to run off together.
Yeah, that escalated really quickly, their romance.
Like in an hour, it's to will you marry me?
They're in love.
So meanwhile, while they're out there doing their thing, Morgan the butler gets drunk. The power goes out, and the old man is afraid to go upstairs to get a lamp. When somebody does go upstairs, they hear this crazy cackling laugh. There's someone in a room upstairs.
There's 2 someones up there, actually.
There is, yeah. We don't know that yet, but
Yeah.
there's 2.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, Morgan literally chases Mr. Waverly around the living room, cat and mouse style, for entirely too long. And then he and Mr. Waverly fight. Waverly punches him a few times, and they wrestle around, and finally Waverly grabs his big, fancy, ornate lamp and throws it at him, like at this range. Morgan grabs the lamp, falls down, and he's unconscious. And it's the wimpiest fight you've ever seen.
Yeah, it is. They needed a better choreographer for the fight.
So while Morgan's asleep on the stairway, Waverly goes upstairs to investigate the locked room with the voices inside. They find Sir Roderick Phim, an old man, obviously played by a woman.
Which is so weird that they did that.
No reason for it whatsoever.
They stuck on some fake facial hair. So she's got a straggly beard, and she's...
The character doesn't look particularly like a woman, but when you hear the voice, you're not going to be fooled. Not for a second.
Yeah, and the way she moves, and...
Yeah. Why did they
it was a
do
weird,
this? It's a strange
weird
casting choice.
Yeah.
Because it's completely irrelevant to the plot. This is not a secret woman or anything like that.
No, it's the father of the brother and sister.
So the ancient man speaks of a crazy son, Saul, who's locked in yet another room upstairs. And he's locked up because he wants to burn the house down. Morgan has this habit of trying to release him, and he's tried a few times. Actually, Morgan has already released him by the time we get this explanation. So it's a been and done, and it's too late.
And Saul is crazy.
Well, he doesn't think so.
Yeah, he didn't think
The 3 men tackle Morgan and drag him into the kitchen and lock him in. Everyone at this point seems to get locked into one room or another by somebody for some reason. And Penderell runs into Saul, who swears he's not insane, and the Fems just locked him up because he knew the Fems killed their other sister. which is not unbelievable at this point.
Because they're weird.
Oh, yeah, they're very weird.
Yeah.
However, he quickly demonstrates that he's the craziest one of the bunch, knocking out Pendrell and running off with a torch and setting things ablaze. The two of them fight, fall over the railing. Saul is killed, but Pendrell survives, just barely. Actually, in the book, he doesn't survive.
He doesn't?
He doesn't.
That's terrible.
He's the only body.
Oh.
The next morning, everyone packs up, gets out in the car, and goes home just like nothing happened.
Yeah.
It's Tuesday.
That landslide went away all by itself, I guess.
Okay, so what'd you think?
It's not a classic.
I thought the old man Femme and the sister, the cackly, everybody in this is really interesting.
Interesting, yes.
Mr.
Yeah.
Femme is tall and gaunt. I thought he was Boris Karloff at the very first sight.
Mm-hmm.
And then Rebecca, the old lady, is just
over the top.
in the first few
wacky.
scenes.
Yeah.
She really steals the show, and then we don't see much of her in the second half.
Mm-hmm.
The old lady, who's really an old man, I don't quite get that one. That was
I
just
don't
weird.
Get the director choice there.
It's another one of those movies with no soundtrack, just like Frankenstein. There's a lot of very monotonous wind and storm noises.
But no music.
No music.
No music at all. Why?
Boris Karloff gets top billing, but never speaks. He's lost under the makeup and hair. Do we have a guest star?
We have a guest star. Come here, you. You can't whine. I'm not up here on camera.
This is Spangle the
This
Horror
is
Cat.
Spangle. Say hi to
She's
the
the
people,
third
Spangle.
member of the show.
Yeah, she's whining for attention.
We should be watching horror movies with a cat on our lap at this
Yeah,
point.
she wants lap time.
Now she wants down.
No, she wants down.
So Boris Karloff gets top billing, never speaks. He's lost under the makeup and hair. And it could have been anybody playing that role. It could have just been an extra. There's no body count, no deaths, and
Except
no
for
real
Saul.
surprises.
Saul.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, there is one death.
Yeah.
I should probably change that.
Just one, yeah. But
Yeah.
it's kind of dated. There, a lot. Some of it was again tropes that this is where these tropes started.
It was not boring.
It wasn't boring.
It was just kind of pointless.
Yeah.
It
A lot of it was
not a
stuff we've
comedy.
seen.
I think Plex
Quite.
displayed it that it was a comedy and not a horror movie.
Not very funny.
There's a little bit of silliness in there. It's not totally serious, but
They're
it's
doing it
not
pretty
a comedy.
serious. Yeah, it's pretty grim.
Not even what
Yeah.
you call a dark comedy. It's just not really funny. Just kind of dumb by today's standards.
So I'd say you should probably see it if you're collecting the whole Universal set.
It's certainly not the worst
It's
Universal
not.
I've seen.
No, it's not.
Maybe like right in the middle. It's no Dracula, it's no Frankenstein, but there's a couple of worse ones.
Yeah, it was worth the watch.
We need to rank these sometime when we get
Put them in
all
order.
of them.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Put them in order. Yeah. Definitely.
What do you think best so far still?
I like Frankenstein the best so far.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
And this was by, Court Karloff and James Whale, the same people that did Frankenstein. You would have expected more.
Yeah.
And, okay, well,
Yeah.
it's not so much.
Man of a Thousand Faces.
No.
Was that Boris Karloff?
No, that was Lon Chaney.
That was Lon Chaney. Okay.
Of which we saw him in 2 movies.
Boris
Were these
Karloff was
1,000
a
Faces? I
man
don't know.
of 500 Faces.
Yeah.
I just made that up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Feeling all right? You sure you're okay? You're looking kind of sick.
Bloodshot eyes, vomiting blood,
Not yet.
sneezing out a pint of blood.
Okay, our drive-in special this week is not really
Contracted.
that old. 2013, called Contracted. Directed and written by Eric Englund, and stars Najara Townsend, Carolyn Williams, Katie Stegerman. 1 hour and 23 minutes.
I thought Najara Townsend was really good in the role.
Yeah, she's the main character, and she gets definitely 98% of the screen time, and she's very good at it.
Yeah.
Film starts out with a body on a table with a toe tag.
Guy having
Yes,
a cold one after
we're-
work.
We're in another morgue. This body, however, is currently having sex with the Undertaker.
Yeah.
And
They don't show it directly, but yeah, that's what's going on.
He finishes up and leaves, and the credits roll. And it's like your dad always said: if you have sex with enough corpses, sooner or later you're going to catch something.
And he does.
Your dad?
No. This guy.
Okay. So the guy's having sex with the corpse and he leaves. We don't know if he's the Undertaker, the mortician, or why he's even there.
Yeah, they never clarified
Sex
that.
with corpses.
But he has access, and so he does. Yeah, he did.
Samantha, just a new character, meets a friend at a club, and the morgue guy is there. He has his eye on her. She has a lot to drink as she's depressed over her worthless girlfriend. She spills the drink, and this guy, BJ, stands for Brent Jaffe. We don't know that yet, but we will. Hands her another drink. Of course, you see this coming.
Little something extra in that drink.
The drink is drugged, and he rapes her in the car. And then the titles come up. This is like 5 minutes into it.
A lot happens.
Quick
Yeah.
and over.
Yeah.
So she wakes up hungover the next morning, and she doesn't feel good. She and her mother obviously don't get along. They argue a bit. And then she wakes up the second day, comes on the screen, day 1.
Oh, yeah, day 1.
Day
2.
2.
Day 3.
So day 2, she wakes up covered in blood with a few black veins showing, blood poisony looking things. And the days start counting on screen up to day 3, so it doesn't go on very long, as whatever her problem is progresses. After pooping out what appears to be a gallon of blood, she finally goes to see a doctor.
Yeah, finally.
Yeah.
I mean, like initially, she could have thought, okay, it was because of the assault, some brutality or, some damage going on, bruising. But she goes on way too long without being concerned.
Yes.
Because it gets pretty bad before she does finally go to the doctor.
So the doctor doesn't believe her story about only having sex 2 nights ago. He tells her she has a head cold and a rash down there. Looked like more than a rash.
Yeah. He seemed awfully incompetent and kind of a superficial exam.
Yeah, very superficial.
Yeah.
So things continue to get progressively worse, and her mother thinks she's back on drugs. It's explained at some point that she's a former addict, and the mother thinks she's back on the stuff. Getting the red eyes and the bad teeth and the gnarly face, and she's a mess.
Yeah, she is.
And then she goes into work. She's a waitress at a restaurant. She freaks out the workers and boss at her job. She goes back to the doctor, and he says, well, it must be a new STD. 2 days.
Yeah. Nothing to worry about, though.
Okay.
Just avoid contact with
don't
anybody.
want to go further. Again, this is all like maybe a half an hour in at most. And needless to say, the disease progresses.
Yeah, it gets pretty horrific. Good special effects.
Very good, yeah.
Really realistic.
Got any notes or comments?
Cringe-worthy realistic.
I thought it was well acted all the way around.
I did too. It made me think of the Jeff Goldblum Fly remake, his progression of how he starts falling apart. There's some similarities.
Peeling bits off, yes.
Yeah, as things progress. Yeah, it's nasty. Yeah.
Yeah.
But she keeps working around, people and working in the restaurant and working with food and made me never want to eat out again.
As a former teacher, let me tell you, whenever you go to a classroom, there's always 2 sick people. Just got to stand on the other side.
Yeah.
Well, okay.
So her girlfriend is just awful to her.
I don't think she's really all that interested.
No.
Samantha, the main character, seems to be not quite a stalker, but maybe a little infatuated with this other girl. The other girl's not interested, not really.
Yeah, she's not really. I don't think Nikki's a bad person. She's just not into her. Not into Samantha.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Everything here, I thought, seems to be a metaphor. Did you notice this? Everything's a metaphor for drug addiction.
Okay, yeah.
She gets more and more strung out and gross quickly and looks a lot like a meth addict.
And starts
bad teeth and bad skin. One by one,
messing up her relationships.
Everyone she knows abandons her. Everybody she knows. The way she acts and the way everyone treats her is exactly the same way as an addict would get. If you took away the disease part of this and showed her shooting up in a back alley, you could have made the same movie with a different cause.
Yeah, you could have.
And of course, as she gets more frightened,
neglects her interests.
Yeah,
she raises flowers.
Prize flowers
very
for like
prize
contests.
Flowers, like where hundreds of thousands of dollars are on the line, and she neglects
badly
her very favorite thing, because of this, which would happen with severe drug addiction too.
As she gets more and more frightened and irrational, things get out of hand.
Oh, do they ever?
And it's entertaining enough if you're into gore, but there's not much to it other than the gore, I didn't think, really.
Yeah. It's kind of been done before. I mean, sort of.
Well,
Not
like I said, with
really.
The Fly, it's kind of been done, but that's not
Yeah.
really the same thing.
Yeah, this is not the fly. She doesn't turn into a fly. Yeah, it's
Now, the
not
ending, which without giving the ending away, it's not exactly vague what happens, but it kind of is in some ways also.
Oh, I think it was obvious how it what happened at the end.
You think it was a guaranteed thing, that the way that leads into the second movie?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
I thought it just took the drug metaphor one step further, and that she kind of lost her mind.
No.
Okay.
No spoilers.
No spoilers.
No spoilers.
Of course, we're going to have to spoil it a little bit, because next up we've got the second movie.
What? There's another movie.
But first, a message for you. 13 short tales of terror, ranging from classic tales of supernatural revenge to serial killing clowns, alien menaces, and demons. Even death incarnate makes an appearance. If you enjoyed collections of short horror fiction when you were young, you'll enjoy these more grown-up tales. Definitely not for children. Inside, you'll find When the Clown Comes Calling, Menace in the Mural, Delivering the Demon, Silent Flight, Prisoner 2, Druid on My Doorstep, Dreamcatcher, How I Killed Grandma, or What I Did Over Summer Break, You'll Die Alone, The Hypnotist, The Secret, as well as the all-new Terror on the Appalachian Trail, written exclusively for this collection. Also included is the first installment in the Necropolitan Police series, The Ghoul. Written by Brian Schell, available at Amazon and wherever good books are sold. Okay, and we're back.
Hi.
Now, we told you a minute ago we were going to get to the second contracted movie, but first, we saw a short this week.
We did. It's called The Bells.
Gong.
It's available on YouTube, and everybody should watch it. It was pretty good.
Written and directed by Virat Pal, starring Danny Barclay and Nell Rutledge Leverins.
7.5 minutes long.
7.5 good old minutes.
Yeah.
Jim is talking on the phone to Caitlin about his uncle's funeral. He starts hearing bells ringing, like on a church.
Loud. Deafeningly loud.
He hears the bells and she doesn't. They get louder and louder, and she stops being able to hear him on the phone. The bells get more and more insistent, and it starts getting painful for Jim. Then the bells stop. Could the sound be covering up an intruder?
Could it?
And it's good. It doesn't explain much. You don't know really what happened or why.
but
the
it
acting,
happens.
the acting, pacing, and cinematography are very good.
That was his sister
What was his sister?
that he was talking to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, at first I thought it might be an ex, but no, it's his sister.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Caitlin.
So it's got a nice little ending to it. Not exactly sort of a twist, sort of not.
Yeah,
But yeah,
yeah.
it's good. 7.5 minutes. Give it a shot.
Yes.
Link will be in the show notes.
Yeah. Check it out.
All right. Now I'm starting to feel sick. I think I've contracted it too.
Contracted Phase 2.
Directed by Josh Forbes, written by Craig Walenzia, two completely different people from the first one. And this one stars Matt Mercer, Mariana Palka, and Morgan Peter Brown.
Same people.
Matt Mercer
same main guy.
is Riley, who was Samantha's sort of boyfriend in the first movie.
He was
and he's
sweet.
the main
He
star
was sweet
now.
on her, and she was trying to be a lesbian and not doing a very good job at it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's not a major spoiler, but toward the end of the first movie, the two had sex. Gross sex. With maggots.
Well, turns out He's the main character of this movie, and that's not a good thing.
Guess what happened? Yeah.
It's contagious.
So we start off with a flashback to the very end of the previous movie, which then leads us to an autopsy scene that progresses as the credits roll.
It's exactly following. It's like literally, it's day 4.
Yeah, then we see day 4 appear
Yeah.
on the screen, so we're
Yeah.
obviously continuing.
Yeah.
Riley, Samantha's almost boyfriend, is getting checked out at his doctor's office. He's got scratch marks on his back, with one of her fingernails still stuck inside.
Yeah.
She was losing her fingernails at the time.
But his doctor friend, he just vaguely test for everything. Might have something, rather than telling the doctor exactly what happened and what's going on.
Never shows him the scratch marks, never shows him the
Yeah.
fingernail.
Or what happened.
There's something wrong with me. Check out everything.
Yeah. And,
Yeah. So we get a flashback while he's explaining all this to where Alice, one of the girls Samantha killed in the first movie, gets up and attacks him. So this film takes the sickness storyline from the first movie and full out zombifies things.
Spoiler now.
Yeah, well, that's kind of the premise of the second movie.
Yeah, that's what the disease does.
Yeah.
It progresses and then it zombifies you.
All right, minor spoiler for the first movie. She ends up as a zombie. It appears.
Yeah.
You could totally take that as the sickness progressed to the point where she lost her mind and she's clawing at people. So you don't have to go to zombies with the first movie.
You do with the second
You
one
do with the
because
second
Alice
movie,
was
yeah,
dead
that's the whole
and came
point.
back to life.
Yeah.
Or reanimated. Yeah.
People are getting up from the dead.
And it's getting more contagious. The disease is spreading more easily. Initially, it seemed to be just by sex.
Samantha spread it around a little bit by going to work at the restaurant and stuff, and Riley continues to spread it as well.
Yeah, as it progresses, it gets more contagious. Yeah.
Riley gets called into the police station and has questions about the 4 dead bodies from the first movie, since he knew them all.
And some missing gals.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Later, the doctor tells him that Samantha had some kind of necrotic STD. And it's a good thing Riley didn't have sex with her, but we all know he did.
And at this point, he doesn't
mention it.
or anything. Yeah.
Oh, hey, I did that bad thing. I got it.
Yeah.
He very quickly starts showing the same symptoms, and so do other people. And Riley's story is interwoven with the detective who's searching for BJ, the guy who started all this.
Yeah, the government is on to BJ, and it shows more of BJ. He's kind of an apocalyptic guy. He started the disease.
He was just some rando at a party in the first movie, and now he's an apocalyptic terrorist.
Yeah. He wants to end the world. And,
he knows what he's doing, and the whole thing is intentional.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Are we giving too much spoiler?
No,
We're saying that? No. Okay. All right.
not really.
Yeah.
BJ's story isn't really all that important,
And again,
or his motivations.
Again, somebody is having severe symptoms and not going to at one point, Riley starts having a severe nosebleed. Goes up, yeah.
His sister's having a party for some reason.
It was a wake for one of the dead people.
Yeah.
Yeah. So and he starts bleeding into the cheese dip. The doctor's standing right there looking at him. And nobody mentions the blood in the cheese dip or anything. Riley runs to the bathroom, sneezes out a pint of blood. I mean, just...
There's some pretty good gore in this one.
And then there's a knock on the door. It's the gal he's seeing. Like, oh, are you all right? Yeah, I'm all right. Want to go for drinks? Yeah, that sounds good. Okay. Like any sane person that had just done that
Don't
would be
let the zombie
going
plague
to
slow
take
you
me
down.
to ER. I want an emergency room. Yeah.
Okay, so there's no indication from the first movie that BJ was anything other than a rapist, and now he's a major terrorist.
Yeah.
The disease itself went from a super STD to the start of the zombie apocalypse.
Mm-hmm.
We watched
Right
part
on BJ's
part
plan.
2 right after part 1, right after the other.
Mm-hmm.
And the medical grade gore effects in this movie were not as good as the first one, I didn't think. They're still pretty decent,
More
but
blood this time.
just blood.
Yeah, but mostly just blood. Yeah.
And okay, the effects were not that impressive after the first one. And one piece of advice: never eat the blood-covered cheese dip.
No.
And maybe see the doctor at the first hint of,
your first symptoms.
yeah, the first time your eye falls out or something. Go see the doctor. Don't go clubbing.
Yeah, that's a sign that maybe something's wrong.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I like the first one a whole lot better than the second one. But yeah, they were both good. They were
They were
I
good.
would not
Well, I
consider
liked them.
either of them a waste of time.
I liked seeing them as a package deal like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and seeing them back to back, I think that helped a lot.
Don't bother with the second one until you've seen the first one.
Oh, definitely.
It's definitely
Yeah.
two
In order.
continuous movies.
Yeah, don't see the second one without it. Yeah,
And if you're only going to see one, then see one.
but see them both.
First one,
I give them both a thumbs up.
you heard what I said. You don't have to go with the zombie apocalypse with it. Watch it with the idea of drug addiction in mind. And I think the director had something else in mind with this other than just a straight zombie movie.
Yeah,
He was trying to send us a message.
yeah, probably. Yeah.
Well, stay tuned to the end of the show when we'll let you know what we're watching this week, and you can be prepared for next week's show. Going to start telling you what's coming up, so you got your chance to go out and get the movies, watch them, and see if you agree with us. Maybe we can get some comments on some of our shows that way.
We should have watching parties.
You can email
watch
us
'em
at any
live.
time also. Email us with questions, suggestions, comments, anything you want.
Tell us what you think of these movies.
Yo, yeah.
Are we full of crap, or do you agree with us? We don't know.
We'll find out.
We won't know unless you tell us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thanks for joining us. Stop in during the week at horrorbulletin.com for news and horror updates, to comment on this podcast, or to contact us. Hit like and hit that subscribe button. Stop by and donate at patreon.com/horrorbulletin. Check out our Twitter feed at Horror Bulletin on Twitter, and our website at horrorbulletin.com.
If you give money on the Patreon, we can afford to feed Spangle. And her sister Sparkler.
They're greedy cats. They like to eat
They
daily.
expect to eat every day.
Yeah.
Like twice at least.
Yeah.
Yeah. Water's cheap. But
Give them that bloody cheese dip.
I bet they'd eat it.
Roll around in it. Next week, we'll be watching the Universal classic, The Invisible Man from 1933, along with The Tunnel, 2011, and Late Phases, 2014. Have you seen any of these before?
I haven't seen any of these before.
Pretty sure I saw The Invisible Man. I don't know the other two.
Never seen it.
We've got links for these three movies in the show notes, and if you want to watch them this week, we'll find out if your opinion meshes with ours.
Yeah.
I'm Brian,
I'm Kevin.
and we'll see you next week.
See ya.